The main thrust of our research is to explain why the smoking pattern of women in China and to a certain extent Japan and Korea looks so different than the pattern that we see in the United States and in many countries in Western Europe and Europe in general. So we've been perplexed why that came about, and in the course of searching for that, we were led into looking quite carefully at the political and social and cultural history of those countries, and that's where we think the answer mainly lies.
Right, so what we've seen in the US and in European countries in the 20th century is a fairly low rate of smoking among women and then gradual increases throughout the 20th century. And this goes along with what we think about in terms of women's autonomy and liberation and so on. But in China you see this gradual decrease despite men's continued high rates of smoking and improvements in women's status.
But it's also true in the United States and Europe, it's the older women generally smoke much less than the younger women because the younger women started to pick it up later on, and in China what's unusual is that the older women are smoking more, so there's a kind of a double question, the level of smoking but also the age pattern of smoking, right. And that's what we've been focusing on. The answer in a nutshell, I think, is that even though women in China and the other countries smoked quite a bit in the terms of pipes and were free to use pipes during the 19th century when cigarettes came along and they started to smoke and become more emancipated and look for more and were more visible in public life, that sort of set in a backlash among the more conservative forces who felt that that wasn't appropriate. And those pressures, unlike in the United States where women continue to gain traction and ability to smoke, that backlash in East Asia led to a set of values and norms that said smoking is not appropriate for women, and that kind of cooled them out of the business. It was a rainy day when we met, I think. When Deb came here as a postdoc, because of our mutual interest in both Asia and also because Deb's prior research was very much on aging, and she knew that I had done some work on aging in Taiwan and some surveys, we started to talk. And then when I came up this project, which occurred to me as something that emerged from a prior piece of research, came along, I asked Deb if she wanted to take part in it. She made the mistake of saying yes, and so got her involved. And so we've been working a couple of years on and off as the project has gone along and as time permitted. But it's been a very rewarding collaboration. A great advantage to me was Deb's knowledge of the culture and the history of China, and particularly the women's literature, so to speak, the literature about women's status in China and their history, because that turned out to be very crucial, and it was not an area that I knew a lot about. So I learned a lot.
And of course, for me, it was very exciting because, as a student, I read a lot of Al's work, and I had to cite him a lot in my comprehensive exams. I think for me it's been great to work with Al because he definitely has a demographic perspective. I've learned even more about what it's like to look at the world from a demographic type of perspective, and of course I'm trained in sociology, so it's been great to meld those two. And as you've noted, this is a good example of one of those projects that kind of grows into something. My image of this project is like you might, if you were in your garden and you dropped a seed, and at first you got a nice little plant and you thought, oh, that's great, and suddenly the thing like Jack and the Beanstalk takes off and it's going and going, and now you don't know where to stop it.